Just keep doing what you're doing. But then the one thing or the two things that are important is have honor and respect what you're doing and respect people.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be
The journey. The journey.
New sheriff in town, and his name is
The journey.
Journey.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is
The journey. The journey.
What is it that moved you?
The journey. The journey. The journey. The journey.
Welcome back to another episode of The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we have a Memphis icon that I'm going to do a little fanboying about. So just chill, just give me some grace, because you know I get excited when I get certain people in here. And this is one of those Memphis icons. Man, I'm telling you, he's amazing. But first we got our quote, and it comes from the great Martin Luther King. And it goes a little something like this because it applies to this individual. Almost always the creative, dedicated minority has made the world better. What does that mean? It's that ingenuity that's within us, especially brothers and sisters, especially something in this Memphis water that makes us creative, innovative, all of that. And this brother definitely represents that. We're talking about no other than Brother Fred Jones Jr., straight out of Claiborne Homes, BTW, where they lead and others follow, and the University of Memphis. Visionary, entrepreneur, father. I mean, he's a real Memphis icon. So without further ado, we have Brother Fred Jones. How are you, sir?
Okay.
Man.
But I have one correction.
Okay, we'll make the correction.
We are tops. We lead and others follow.
Okay, we the tops and we lead and others follow. Okay.
My life actually started before the Claiborne Homes, really.
Okay.
At a place, 91 West Olive.
Okay.
In South Memphis. And we lived in a 3-story tenement house with common outside restrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved, like the Jefferson, we moved on up.
Moved on up.
And moved to the Claiborne Homes. And I started the first grade there, but the early years were spent in South Memphis. And I drive by there occasionally. It's right in front of where Kansas School is now. And, you know, things have changed, that's for sure.
I'm sure. Tell me about who had the biggest impact on a young Fred Jones that was outside of the home?
I'll probably say my grandfather.
Really?
You know, I remember cutting grass on McLemore when McLemore was uptown, right there by Fitzgerald's furniture store, right there across where our boss Ugly Bob was. And we were cutting yards for $1, $1.50, you know, with a push lawnmower, you know, and he had to sharpen the blade.
Right.
And, but he was a stickler for making sure that it got done right. And I think about that, you know, when I drive by there, there's a house that sits right next to where Fitzgerald was.
Okay.
And 2 sisters stayed there. My grandfather cut the yard. And I remember there was a tree, and that tree is still there.
Oh, wow.
Because we always ate, you know, they would, you know, give us that $1.50, but we always had great lunch.
Okay.
A lot of iced tea.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And we had to sit under that tree, you know, we couldn't go any place else to eat but right there.
Well, tell me, when you were sitting under that tree, you know, drinking that iced tea, eating that nice lunch, what were your dreams? What did you dream you would be? Who did you dream you would be?
My journey has been kind of all over the place.
Okay.
You know, I mean,
well, you know, every kid
I
had
think,
dreams.
I think my grandmother, going back then, had the influence because I was her banker. I mean, you could go to the store then and you spend $10 and you couldn't carry it all.
Right.
But I carried the money, you know, and I even at that early age, I paid the bill.
Wow.
You know, she said, well, how much is, her name was Carrie. And she said, Miss Carrie, how much, well, it was $4-5. Junior, take care of that. And I was, so that started me really young, what turned out to be something, even to this day, has been very beneficial. How to count money, be responsible.
Right.
I wanted to be an accountant.
Okay.
But the journey's kind of got zigzag from there.
Uh-huh.
But it all leads back to being able to be responsible with the resources and the money that you have to work with. Obviously, things have changed from $10 to, it's a lot more money involved today.
On the journey, we got to really ask you the tough questions. So the tough question would be, when was the last time Fred Jones got a butt whooping?
You know what? It was different then.
And what you do?
No, it wasn't the butt whooping. It was the look.
Oh man,
the look was. Well, let me just go back. My grandmother that lives in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Man, she was probably 5 foot tall.
Uh-huh.
And she lived out in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go down there every year for the visit. And she would tell you, they go out there and bring me, the little tree limbs, this little
switch.
Yeah.
He was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I hated that.
That was the one.
Yeah, that's the one, brother. When you had to pick your own
and
switch,
you bring
man.
it back, man, and she would just wear you out.
Oh man.
So that was the one. The rest of it is you got that look.
Right.
That was it. I mean, that's so much different then than it is now.
I got 2 more questions in this segment. This question is what I'm sure many of us would want to know. Someone as successful as you, what's your why? Why do you get up every day? What are you trying to do?
I've been pretty fortunate enough to bring a lot of smiles.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see people, I don't have to see but one a day.
Okay.
And then say, hey, Fred Jones, and I'm proud of what you're doing, and I remember this, and they tell stories and about whatever. It's like when Tina Turner passed, and they did a story in the Tri-State Defender about her when she first came out by herself.
Right.
And somebody wrote on, I was at that show. Man, that was a great show.
You produced the show.
That's all you really looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, I say this and people don't really understand it. It's never about the money. It's about the presentation and what you're doing. Because if you do it and do it well, you're going to make money.
Right.
So if you started making money the benchmark, you're not going to get to where you really, along this way, there's so many stories that was really about money. It was an opportunity. And I gave you a quick one when I was offered the job with Isaac Hayes.
Okay.
My father said, I talked to him about it. He said, you know what, this would be an adventure for you. It'd be you go ahead and try it.
Right.
I had a degree from then Memphis State University, but he said, just try it. You get a chance to travel and go around and meet a lot of people. And little did he know, traveled everywhere and met thousands of people with hundreds and maybe even thousands of experiences,
All right, this is the last question of this segment. And I can't even imagine where you're going to go with this. When was the first time you realized you was a black man? Hold on for a quick second. Hold on. Listen, we're going to be right back on the journey where Brother Fred is going to share with us when he realized he was a brother. Stay right there. We'll be back on the journey. Larry Robinson, KUDZUKIAN Network.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
Success in life is not a straight line. There are twists and turns in everyone's life, and the more you know about their story, the more you'll understand the process. KUDZUKIAN Media Group proudly presents The Journey, a show that features successful black men in Memphis telling their stories of their lives and the ups and downs they've encountered on their ultimate road to success. We believe The Journey will encourage young men and help them see that life is a journey. Watch The Journey, hosted by me, Larry Robinson. Brought to you by the KUDZUKIAN Media Group in partnership with the Delta Boulé. Welcome back to The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we have one of the most amazing Memphis icons, most innovative Memphis icons, and Brother Fred Jones Jr. of the Southern Heritage Classic fame. But so much more to him than that. We probably won't even touch on that much today. So before we left, we mentioned that, well, I asked Brother Fred when he realized he was a black man. But before we get to that, I had another question that just kind of came to me. And the question was, with him being so involved in the entertainment industry, Fred, you've dealt with Prince, Rick James. In fact, I think you did Rick James and Prince together here. Prince's first time in Memphis. Tina Turner, as you said, Isaac Hayes, and I'm sure there's many more. With so many of those people that you built your career on gone, how do you think about what you've been blessed to have, all those relationships? You ever sit back and think about that?
Yeah, I think in one area though.
Okay.
Is the blues. Because my father and I used to, on Saturday morning, play, listen to the blues. He liked Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters, and we sit there and listen to it. And then later on, when I met, Bobby Bland, B.B. King, Albert Collins, you just name up all of them, Charlie Musselwhite. And they played a big part of what is the success of the Southern Heritage Classic.
Really?
I did a tour with them. In fact, the success of that tour was the financing for the Southern Heritage Classic.
Wow.
So I owe a lot to them, but we got real close though. I mean,
So it's a blues tour. They gave you the resources to do the Southern Heritage Classic.
I mean, I started Southern Heritage Classic with a blank sheet of paper. I mean, it was just, wasn't nothing on it.
Okay.
And what you see today is taking all these many years to fill it up. Now I got artwork and all kinds of everything.
Right.
But it was a blank sheet of paper. But those artists, the impact that they had and still have on my life and other people's lives and just people, their enjoyment.
Right.
And to take, I remember watching a story on B.B. King, why he said, they was talking about leaving the plantation. He said, well, I don't think it was B.B. King. I think it was Muddy Waters. And he said, I was making 50 cents a day when I could go to Chicago and make 50 cents an hour. And we look at that kind of straight. I've been working in Cleveland Homes. I worked at a grocery store, making 50 cents an hour. So I could relate to that. I mean, you had an experience of that, and then you watch them do what they do, because they were good at what they did. I mean, they were the best. And ask the Rolling Stones, ask the Beatles, ask all of those people who are mega stars where they got their foundation from, and they'll tell you the blues and black artists, especially from the South.
Absolutely. So before we left, we asked you, When did you realize you were a black man?
From my father.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened? What?
You know, it wasn't that what happened. He said, you know, this is the hand that you are dealt, and you got to know how to deal with that. You know, my father was a strategist, but he wasn't the only one. I mean, you had to live a certain way to survive. So he always taught that. And one of the things he always told me, you know, is be careful what you say and be careful who you say it to.
Right.
And that's a matter of survival, and that's a matter of survival from a black perspective.
Right.
I mean, they did excellent surviving all those hundreds of years, but just to my family, you know, you always were taught this. Never get out of your place.
Mm.
You knew what that meant, you know, so it wasn't, I'm going to do what I want to do and
So what would be maybe repercussions of not knowing your place doing
death? I was reading something the other day, was some old story where a black man was supposedly have done something. They didn't catch him. They tracked him down. They couldn't find him, but they killed the person where he went to the house and burned the house down. So
wow.
those are real stories, and those are things that my father was just always kept that in mind.
Okay.
You know.
How does that fuel, because that era of Memphis, how has that era impacted you today? How do you use what you experienced then of knowing your place, but today you've made a place with the Southern Heritage Classic and other things you've done?
But you made a place in the place that you grew up. See, I think there's some time where we kind of miss. I think what happened is that in that transition, when you made a place, you moved away.
Okay.
You moved up on the east side. Okay.
Right.
Or you moved, in the case of Memphis, that's a good example.
East side.
East side,
right.
know, so, but I've been able to live my life and enjoy my life with people who understand my journey.
Right.
And because I was in the entertainment business all of those years, they grew up with me. Okay, I wasn't out by myself when I was doing these shows and doing these events. They were there supporting me.
Right.
Fast forward, like the Southern Heritage Classic. Without the fans, there would be no Southern Heritage Classic. I can beat that drum all day long, but if they don't respond, then there's no success you're gonna have.
Mm-hmm.
So you never get away from your beginning, and I think the people taught that. You're gonna get the education, and you're gonna all of this, and you're gonna move up, and you're gonna move out, but I found a way to where I could coexist with that, and still enjoy my life and enjoy the people that, that have been on this journey with me.
Says a lot that you said, I was able to do it at home, and my crowd kind of grew up with me. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, well, I can't remember word for word the story that is in the Bible. You have your toughest battles at home.
Right.
I mean, I'm traveling, I'm doing shows everywhere. I mean, very few places that, unless you went to Montana or North and South Dakota or Wyoming, you missed me. I went to El Paso and Tacoma, Washington, and Hawaii, Europe, the Caribbean. I mean, it just took you everywhere,
Right.
you know, and you got different experiences, but you always related them back to
But
Memphis.
you always came home. You could see, you could live anywhere. I mean, you saw everything. So what's your favorite place besides Memphis?
You may not believe this, but Hot Springs, Arkansas,
Really? Why Hot Springs, Arkansas?
because it's just, you know what? I don't know why. Other than the fact that it's nice and quiet, and quiet is good because I
Okay.
can think about. I think about everything when it's quiet. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Your mind doesn't shut down because
Right,
you sleep.
never.
You know, doctor been trying to get me get more sleep, but part of Hot Springs, Arkansas. I mean, it was a good place to go and play golf and eat and take the baths, take it easy. I didn't have to worry about trying to do nothing else. I'm fine.
Great museums too.
Oh, when you study the place, the history of it. I remember one day, and you never know, I was over there playing golf, and it was this hotel right downtown where we ate breakfast. There was an older white man that was sitting there every day. And they said, well, he lives here. I said, oh, okay. And said, man, you may not realize but how rich he is. Said, he bailed out Cleveland, Ohio back in the day.
He bailed out the city of Cleveland?
Cleveland, that's what they said. And I said, really? And it was just, and when you go back and do a little research, you found that there are a lot of multi-millionaires that live in the state of Arkansas. It's a smaller state, but there are a lot of multi-millionaires that stay there.
Wow. Tell us about your home life. When you were growing up, you mentioned your dad, mom, brothers, sisters.
And my younger brother, Doug.
Okay, you just one brother, one sibling?
He lived with us. My two older brothers and my sister lived with my grandmother in Alabama.
Okay.
This is part of what happened back in those days. I mean, a lot of people got these stories that you would hear that they were staying with a parent or staying with a relative or what have you. But my mother was determined that my brother and I, that she was going to, that moving around wasn't going to happen. So she did stayed at home and, took care of us, but made sure that my two brothers and my sister that were staying with my grandmother were taken care of. And I used to have boxes of clothes that we used to send and what have you. But, I'm telling you some stories.
Well, that's why we wanted it. We want you to tell us these stories so that people, especially these young brothers, can see that, you're looking at the finished product today. You're not looking.
You're looking at a product. I don't know about the finish.
Well, you're looking at a product that's matured.
Oh man, yeah.
That we made some of those same mistakes that they may be making, but at some point we went through in life, got straightened out.
Well, I think for me, people that are watching this, to young people or just people, period. One of the things that I've noticed over time is the level of respect that we have for older people. Okay, in every culture, the older person always sit at the head of the table. When they talk, everybody was quiet. Some kind of way we lost that. And what happened with me is that I had a mother and father at home, and the people in the street, in the community, the older people, they embraced me. I was a young guy, I had a little red wagon. I used to run around picking up Coke bottles and selling them and all that. And
Man, you've been an entrepreneur since back then.
I had a paper route.
So you just leaned into your entrepreneurialism.
Well, it's just, just when opportunity presents itself. It was sort of like I was delivering the press scimitar in the neighborhood, in the Cleveland homes. Well, there was a guy who they was going to give the route to.
Right.
And he asked me to go along with him, and, and by the end of the route, they said, Fred, I think you need to take this route. I don't know how long I kept it, but it was, just the opportunity was there, and it's kind of what happened with the entertainment business.
Right.
What happened at the bank when I went to work for Union Planters Bank. I mean, there are a lot of different things that could have been differently if I hadn't listened to an older person. Parents at home, people I met in the street, in the community. I took advice from them. And that's something that young people need to do a lot more of. Just listen, and for some reason, I never felt like I knew, that I had figured it out.
Right.
And some kids now, I guess if you're making $1 million, they're going to give you so much money to do a show or event or whatever. You figure you figured it out.
Right.
But coming along, growing up, you never felt that way, that you knew all that. It was always another opportunity. And I had to lean on my father and my parents to make this decision.
Right.
Whether or not I was going to take the job with Isaac, whether or not I was going to leave the bank, whether you had somebody to talk to.
Right.
I mean, even before I even got the job at the bank at Union Planters, because if I hadn't gotten that job, that changed the dynamics of everything. It was a guy on Beale Street named Lewis. I never knew his last name, worked in the pool room, at Avalon Pool Room. And I go in there and I'm talking all wild, I'm, how us young people do. They still do it. He listened to me and told me, he said, look, don't stop here. My father had already told me that because I was going to go work for my father. He said, no, you're not going to do that. So that same day that Lewis told me to keep going, they hired me at Union Planters Bank. Stayed there for over 3 years, and was kind of really the reason why and the development. I never dreamed of going into the entertainment business. I wanted to be a CPA.
Right.
That was my God gift is I can numbers and stuff like that. I can't sing. I can't dance. I can't even hum.
But you know them numbers.
I know the numbers.
Men lie, women lie. The numbers don't.
But what I'm trying to get over is that young people just need to listen to their experience.
Hold on. I want you to talk directly to those young people that might be watching and give them a Fredism. Give them something to take with them so they know they watch Fred Jones Jr. today on The Journey.
Well, it's because of listening to older people. I mean, I got a older story at every corner, but I think the biggest thing is that you had someone at home that had that experience, and nothing like going back to my grandmother. I remember going to the cotton field with her, chopping cotton. well, there's a lot of, like recently, the temperature is 100 degrees. They work 10 hours a day for $2. $2. And she always, even back then, with my parents, other people I met, they were all older, they all had that experience, and they kept saying, just keep doing what you're doing. But then the one thing or the two things that are important is have honor and respect what you're doing and respect people. Because you'll never know when when you're gonna need them. You know, they said, don't burn the bridges down. That's never been a more truer statement, you know, because you never know that somebody would say, you know, I met you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and all you need is a little idea. Now things are better for you. And you take, where they couldn't take the idea, you can take the idea if you're willing to listen. And that's, I want to say this over and over and over again. Just listen, and things will be much better for you.
Wow. I can't say nothing more. Just listen. Listen to your older people. Listen to people that have gone before you, because they've done it. You don't need to recreate every mistake along the way. Learn from somebody else. Listen. For my guest, Brother Fred Jones, I'm Larry Robinson. Thank you for watching The Journey. You keep coming back, because we are. Take care. Thank you to our partner, the Grand Boulé of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity Delta Chapter. To hear more incredible stories like this, be sure to download the KUDZUKIAN app from the App Store or Google Play, or check out the Journey Memphis podcast on all your major podcast providers. Also, check us out on the KUDZUKIAN Network.